Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Nowhere. My guest today is Preston Denton. Preston began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986 when he discovered that his family, friends, co workers were having dramatic, unexplained encounters. Since then, he has interviewed hundreds of witnesses and investigations on a wide range of variety of paranormal phenomena. Can we please welcome Preston to the show? Hello there.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Um, how did it all start for you and your out of body experience?
Oh, well, that's really interesting. Since that started because I needed to know if there was life after death following the passing of my mother. I was quite young, 19. She was pretty young too.
Oh,
She was 49 when she passed away. It was very sudden, very unexpected, a heart attack. So that, as you can imagine, was devastating. There are 6 kids in our family. I'm number 5. I have my little sister. She was just 16.
oh,
So yeah, that was very hard. And I was a skeptic. I did not believe in life after death or anything like that. So this was very tough for me. And it was 2 weeks after she passed that we were holding a service for her at a friend's house. And my dad drives up, and who do I see in the front seat of the car but my mother?
oh,
And of course, I'm thinking, well, I've got to be hallucinating out of grief. And I've never taken hallucinogenics. I don't do that. But
no.
that's kind of what I thought because I'm like, wow, my mother had a very distinctive posture. She's always a stickler for, sit up straight, sit up straight. And of course she was. She had her shoulders back, her head up. And I could see her in such detail. This was a bumpy driveway that she was actually kind of pivoting from all the bumps and came right up in front of me. I'm going to say 4 feet away. And I have people on both sides, family and friends, and no one's reacting. So I'm not going to say anything because I think I'm crazy at this point,
Yeah,
and just kind of faded away like pixels on a TV. And I thought, well, okay, I must be really sad. I must be losing my mind. Now, in hindsight, I think probably I did. That was her spirit, because we know that people, when they pass on, will often attend their own funeral or the service or what have you. And I
yeah.
think that's what was going on. So that was the first weird thing. And it was a few months after she passed that I started to, I slept alone in my room. I had my own room for like the first time in my life with 6 kids. We had a pretty small house.
Oh,
Uh,
God.
and so I'm like 20 years old now. And someone walked into my room and I sat up in bed and it was my mother. I could tell by the quality of her presence. I don't know how else to describe it other than it was her, and I knew it was her. And I'm like, what are you doing here? How can you be here? I thought you died. I mean, I know you. I mean, it was just very confusing to me. And she would just smile at me and kind of look at me, and I get this. She didn't say words so much, but like, I'm okay. I'm fine. You're fine. And then I would wake up for real. I thought I was awake when this happened,
Yeah.
but this turned out to be a false awakening. So these were essentially pre-lucid dreams, out-of-body experiences, something. I don't know. It was confusing, but it happened over and over again, 10, 20 times every, couple of days or every, twice a week maybe. And finally, I'm like, I need to make a decision here. I need to figure out what's going on
Mm,
because I thought either I am going crazy again or she's really visiting me. Because I didn't believe in life after death. This could not be happening, but it was. So I started picking up books on dreams, which were mostly, excuse me, crap.
Yeah.
But some did talk about, visitations in the dream state. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe that's what's happening here. Doesn't make sense to me. But it led to a research in lucid dreaming, waking up in the dream state. And that's when I found Robert Monroe's book. Now, for those of you who don't know Robert Monroe, he wrote 3 really good books
Mm.
on his own adventures with astral projection, out-of-body experiences. And an out-of-body experience is, of course, like stepping out in your dream body or your soul, your astral body, which is separate from your physical body, or
Yeah.
so it feels like. He described all this in vivid detail, and at the end of his book said, anyone can do this. Here's how I did it. Here are some exercises. And I thought, wow, if this is something I could actually experience myself, because while I believed that he was telling the truth, you never know until, you do it yourself. Knowledge is different from belief. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a try. Really scary in the beginning thinking about that. But I'm like, okay. So I did the exercises. And not only did I do them, I mean, I really did them. I devoted my life to this for
Right.
about 2 months. I meditated over an hour per day and doing the visualizations, affirmations. And immediately, I mean, within the first few days, my dream recall doubled and tripled and quadrupled.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah. And I started having just incredibly vivid dreams. And then it was a month and 3 weeks that I was depressed. I was going through a lot at this time with the loss of my mother, finding out UFOs were real. And it was the middle of the day. I walked into my room and I lay down on my stomach just to relax and think about, life. And I had no sooner hit the bed when I suddenly felt myself sinking into it, and this incredible vibration swept over my body. Now, Robert Monroe talks about what he calls the vibratory state. He says it'll feel like a mild electric shock, and that means you're ready to go out of body. I didn't recognize it because it felt like I was being electrocuted. And I honestly thought that I had stuck my finger in the light socket next to my bed. So I'm trying to rationalize all this. And the next thing I knew, this vibration reached such an intensity that I popped right out of my body. And yeah, I'll get to this question in a second. Then
Yeah.
I felt this pop, flew out of my body, out of control. I mean, I flung across the room, out the door, across the hallway, and into the bathroom. And I assumed a vertical position, grabbed the countertop, and looked in the mirror, and I didn't see anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm out of body. This is all real. This is amazing. I was thrilled. I was so emotional that it instantly pulled me back in, again, out of control. It was funny because as I'm floating back towards my body, I'm now horizontal again. I see somebody in my room, really short, maybe 4 to 5 feet tall, and I couldn't focus on them. I
Yeah.
couldn't see them. Everything was all colors and just washed out, kind of, and blurry. And I floated above my body and I slowly sunk back into it and woke up. And I was no longer depressed. I was really happy. I was so excited. I'm like, wow, this is real. There is life after death. Anyone can do this, all in literally 5 seconds. It was that much of a revelation. That was the first one. So the question, Steph, thank you. Is your astral body the same as the spirit body? Yes. Different people call it different things depending on what culture you're in. Eastern traditions call it the astral body, and they have it all broken down into like the etheric body, your aura, the astral, and even finer or upper, higher dimensional bodies,
Right.
like the causal and Buddhic and Akashic and mental body. They say there's 7 bodies. I don't know if that's true. I can tell you what I've experienced. But yeah, we have a dream body, it's called an astral body, the occult body, and we of course have our physical body. But I think it's a little bit of a misnomer because really it's all one body. The astral body can reach higher dimensions, I guess might be a way of putting it. But it's all one thing. But yeah, we absolutely have an astral body that survives death. You could call it your soul. And it can do things that the physical body, generally speaking, can't do, like walk through walls or levitate or elongate. It's essentially immortal, because when you pop out of your body, you're young again. You should see me out of body now. I have all my hair. I'm buff. It's amazing. But yeah, that was my first one. I did the same thing again the next weekend. Because mind you, I'm going to school and I'm working. So I am exhausted going through all of this stuff. I really only did it on weekends when I could sleep late. Third time I did it was so scary, because suddenly I woke up in the middle of the night standing next to my bed, and I had a little bit of vertigo. That's a sign that you're out of body sometimes.
Mm.
And I'm like, where am I? What is going? And I had to kind of clear my head. And then I did. I came to full awareness, and I looked down at my bed, and I could see my body under the covers. And I thought, oh no. I got this feeling of cold dread that I had actually died. And I really honestly was convinced, that's it, I'm dead. So I was not happy, as you can imagine, and dove back into my body. And it was so weird, because you fill it up kind of like a Jello mold. You're wiggling,
Yeah.
fitting into a pair of clothes almost. I'm like, okay, is that my head? There's my arms, and I fit in, and it clicked, and I woke up and didn't remember anything for like 3 seconds, 5 seconds. I'm like, what happened? I know something just happened. And then I remembered. I'm like, oh, and then of course I wasn't scared anymore. I was thrilled. But that first year was tough, because while I could get out of body, I was so emotional, not scared. Some people have a real strong fear barrier there. Mine was excitement. I was so excited that literally I'd pop out of body and I'd be, yeah, and slam back in. Took me about a year to just relax enough where I could stay out for 5, 10 seconds, 20, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. By the end of a year, I was able to do it for 5 minutes or so. So it was a long learning curve.
And you were talking about your mom. Was you able to communicate with your mom?
Not initially, and it was incredibly frustrating, because I would pop out of body, and then I learned that you have to have a plan, because it's a very delicate state of consciousness,
Mm.
and your mind is racing, and I would just be like, I'm out of body, I'm out of body, I'm out of body. Because if I didn't keep my awareness focused and sharp, I would slip back into the dream state. And so I had to really learn how to just mentally relax. And then I had to learn how to see, even because I was having trouble with my vision. It was foggy, and like sometimes I couldn't see out of one eye.
Oh,
Don't
God.
know why. Couldn't move. I would be in the middle of the room. So once I got through that, I'm like, okay, let's go out of the living room. Let's fly through the roof. Let's fly around the house. It was a little disconcerting, because you're alone, and it's a new environment. So finally, I'm like, oh yeah. And I would call out for my mom. I'd be like, mom, 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 mom. And she would not come, which was so frustrating to me, because I knew that I'd kind of met her halfway. I mean, come on, there's life after death. You're out of body. I'm out of body. Where are you? And one time I came, I'd always pop out of my body and run out into the living room and try to decide what to do. And I did that. It's so cool, because you can walk through the closed door. It's so you can
Yeah.
feel it. Well, at any rate, I came out in the living room, and there she was. I'm like, oh my God. And I ran to hug her, and she grabbed me like I was a little boy and lifted me up. I'm like, whoa, which really surprised me. And she sat down on the couch, and I sat next to her, and we had a long conversation, which I don't remember,
No.
unfortunately. But that was the first time. So that was on her terms. She would, occasionally visit me, but I wanted to go where she was. I needed to know what she was doing. And finally, this was probably 2 years, 3 years into it. I had moved out. I was in a 3-story condo complex, condominium, and doing pretty good at this. I was extending it to an hour or two a night. Well, not every night, but you know what I mean. I
Yeah.
could stay out for a while. And I popped out of my body. There's the whole rigmarole you go through, relaxing all your muscle groups and so forth. And then you feel the vibratory state and you lift out. Uh, so I did that, and I walked into my living room, and there was a woman there, a beautiful black woman. And I'm looking at her, and she's smiling at me with her shining eyes. She's got this beautiful embroidered dress. Like, I know this woman. Who is this woman? I don't know her in real life, but I'm like, gosh, she looks familiar and young and really very attractive. And so I rushed up to her. You kind of glide across the room. It's very cool. And I stood in front of her, and I was about to ask her her name and who she was.
Hmm.
And she did something I could not believe. I mean, I didn't expect it. She grabbed my shoulders, spun me around, and pushed me in the center of my back through the wall. And I ended up in a different location, which I couldn't recognize. It looked almost like France, honestly. A little
Right.
cafe with wrought iron railings and people sitting in the little tables. So I flew upwards and was looking down over the city, and that's when I thought, oh, I wanted to try and contact my mom. And so I did what I do. Mom, where are you? Mom, 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 mom. So, I would say it 100 times, but this time she showed up, and she looked young. She was probably 20 years old looking. I never really knew her looking like that, because she had me when she was 35 or so, 33.
Right. And
So she was an adult, and when she died, she had wrinkles and black hair, gray black hair and so forth. But she looked like my sister. Whoa! I'm like looking at her, and we hugged, and it was the best reunion you can imagine. Anyone who's lost a loved one knows how devastating it is.
of course it is. Yeah. It is
Oh,
frightening.
it's just horrible. And so to be face to face with them again and see them and know it's them is unbelievably fantastic. And we hugged, and she took me to the other side. Long story short, we popped through this barrier of some kind, which I guess you would call the veil between the worlds,
I was going to say that. Sometimes when the veil is thin, can you just go through it at any time then?
if once you know how to do it, yeah, it's snap of a fingers. You can go right through it. I've got my
Yes,
technique.
there's a question there from Rebecca. What do you
Oh,
think shadow people are? Could they be dark souls?
um, yeah, I think, there's different theories about what shadow people are. Um, I know Dolly Saffron, who was on your show. She's very good at astral projection as well, and she's a medium, and
Yeah.
she's seen shadow people. She actually photographed one once, so she's got some firsthand knowledge of them, and she says that they may be two-dimensional entities that are below the third dimension. There are earthbound souls as well who are very dark, people who have made poor choices in life and basically chosen evil, which you can't really get to the other side if not to the what I would call the garden realms or the heavenly realms if you're bound up in negativity. So I think some of them may be that, sort of demonic souls, this sort of thing, which
Yeah.
I've certainly encountered. But no, most people are not going to have a problem with that. most people, especially if you have any belief in life after death, are more than likely going to go to what, Christianity or major religions would call the heavenly realms. I'm not religious. I wasn't raised that way. But boy, when my mom took me over to the other side, it it was beautiful. There was this green field, there was trees, there was flowers, there's a little brook going through the field, little trails with benches. People are there and wildlife.
When you talk about people there, are they family friends?
No, not all of them. Some, absolutely some, but most of the people there I did not know. I knew my mom, and that was it. And we flew across this field and landed. I cannot express, words don't do justice how beautiful it is, because imagine if each blade of grass was glowing and was covered with sparkles. And what do you call that? Pixie dust or something.
Yeah.
Not sequins, but there's a name for it. Sparkles. Um, and the flowers and the trees, everything has an inner light to it. There's not a shadow. There's no shadows, which is really different because no matter where you are on earth, you're probably going to see a shadow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there. So it gave it a really luminescent quality. And the air itself, even though you're not really breathing like you do here, is sparkling. And there's light in it, and you're embraced in love. It's just this unbelievable feeling of love and light and energy. You could not be in a bad mood there. I don't care how depressed you were. You're there, you're good.
So when you
Um,
talk about that, we should never be frightened of life after death then.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, because people do get earthbound from perhaps alcoholism. I had a friend who had a real hard time after he died. I met him. Or, if you're an absolute downright criminal, addicted to drugs, you know, very much hooked up on depression or greed or any negative emotion can make it difficult for you. But no, it's better than it is here. It is home. We're projecting down here, essentially. That is where we come from. So you have a real sense of belonging there. And people come down here and they incarnate into these physical bodies just for a short time. And this, because we're all living essentially with homesickness here. This is why people are like, I don't belong here. It's difficult because we are not connected as well as we should be to the other side. We
It
should
must
all
be,
be doing this.
Preston, it must be difficult for people who don't want to pass over they're dead, and they must find it difficult to pass over sometimes, for some reason
Absolutely.
or not.
Yeah, it's funny because I read all the books on this subject, and almost anyone who's had, serious astral projection experiences at some point starts rescuing lost souls. So I thought, I don't know that I've ever done that. Because anytime I would read something in someone's book, I'd be like, I'm going to try that.
Yes.
So I kind of did all these experiments. It was really fun to see what would happen. And one day I'm like, well, I'd like to rescue a lost soul. And you kind of just set the intention and it will happen. Most people have spirit guides that will literally guide you by the hand.
That's right.
I didn't, for the most part. Occasionally, like that black woman was clearly a spirit guide, but I was alone. It was, which some people are. And I kind of get it because I'm the kind of guy who's like, don't tell me, let me figure this out. So I suspect they were around me, but just watching me. I'm almost positive that's the case. At
Right.
any rate, I wanted to try to rescue a lost soul, so I set that intention, and I was brought to a little girl who had been horrifically assaulted and murdered.
Oh,
Just a little girl. She couldn't have been 6 or 7. Well, an adorable little girl, blonde hair. She reminded me of Heather O'Rourke in the movie Poltergeist, the little blonde girl. But at any rate, she was under a house, buried, and she was still there, crouched and scared. And this must have been a long time after it happened. I don't know. But I saw her and my heart broke. Like, oh my God. And I came up to her and I'm like, I took her, tried to take her hand, and she was very shy of me. And I'm like, it's okay, I'm here to help you. Would you like to fly? This is a technique I've since done. I actually found out I was doing this already because I would come up to people and I'd say, would you like to fly? I can show you. And I would take them to the other side. I didn't
Mm,
quite realize what I was doing at that point, but I
right.
did. I did when I did this. And she's like, no, 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 no. Who are you? I don't know you. She didn't say that, but you get very strong telepathic
Yeah.
impressions.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I am stumped here. What am I going to do? And then I'm like, I hit on something. I'm like, would you like to see your mom? And I don't know if her mom was passed or not, but she's got to have family on the other side, someone.
Yeah.
And she lit up when I said that. And she stood up and I grabbed her hand. And for me to get to the other side, I just do this technique where I fly straight up real fast, intending to get there. And it always works every time. Just zoom, everything goes blurry. There's a little foggy realm, and then you pop through and you're in this garden realm. And it's funny because I'd read about this, of course, and the authors on the subject say, pay very careful attention and watch where they go, because most people, you cannot trace them. They will instantly part from you and they're gone. And that's exactly what happened. Suddenly she left and I'm like, oh, could not see where she went. She let go of my hand and she was, once I reached the other side, she was gone. I'm like,
Oh,
wow.
I know
But
the stuff. There's a question here. I think it's from when we were talking about shadow people. Maybe that's why there isn't much to do to them. Shadow people, that is. Yes, I think Dolly could be on something with her theory.
yeah, I think so too. I can't say I've ever really seen them, but what's really interesting is, when you start doing this, you're having lucid dreams and you'll be seeing all these people and they're kind of wooden and they're not three-dimensional characters. You realize they're your own mental projections because your own thoughts will manifest. I did that a lot. I would create feasts of food. It's also, the astral body is also called the desire body. And all your emotions, anything you've suppressed will come pouring in. I'm not an angry person. I don't think I have angry issues, but I get really angry sometimes the second I popped out of body. Or I would become
Right.
overcome with hunger. I just needed to eat, and I needed to eat now. And I would create feasts of food, brownies and chicken nuggets and
Oh my God.
ice cream, and just gorge on it. It took me a while to get over that. And, and apparently I was a pretty lustful person. And I won't get into details about that because it's too embarrassing. But you
Did you,
can,
did you find it quite easy to astral travel then?
yeah, it's surprisingly easy to do. And I've taught workshops on how to do this. I've got a little 2-page guide I can send to anyone who wants to learn how to do this. It's not hard.
Yeah.
It takes a little effort. There's the only real barriers to anyone doing this is fear. People are like, oh my God, it's scary. Or skepticism. They don't think they can do it. Or laziness. They don't actually
But
make the effort.
anybody could do it, Preston.
Absolutely anybody. It's a natural human talent. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's not paranormal. Most people will have an out-of-body experience once or twice in their life, at least. And most people, once you reach a state of spiritual evolvement, say, will start having these kinds of experiences. It manifests naturally, automatically, on your pathway towards spiritual enlightenment. The day is coming when everybody's going to be doing this because it's that much of a part of the human condition. And I'll just underline that. We all do it every night, every single one of us.
Yes.
So the trick is remembering. Keep that dream journal. Each morning you wake up, don't move. Think back. Like, what was I doing? Where was I? Who was I with? Those three things. Where was I? Who was I with? What was I doing? And you can bring it back. So there's
Well, that's
different
good.
ways.
That is good if you can fetch it back again, because you'll be learning more then.
100%. It's frustrating because there's slippery things, dreams. Many dreams are half remembered OBEs. If
You
you've
know
had a
why?
flying
I'm
dream,
going to say, why do you think we dream then?
yeah, dream theory, the mainstream people have it all wrong. Dreams are essentially your consciousness, your stream of consciousness. Most people are dreaming all day long. It is your stream of consciousness. It's your thoughts, the songs you just heard, the movies you're watching, all the things you've procrastinated. It's your thoughts. And when you go to bed, your thoughts, you slip right into your stream of thoughts and they manifest around you. So you start dreaming everything that you're thinking about. So that's, you're dreaming while you're awake, essentially. And you can see this once you start having OBEs. People are very sort of almost robotic in their behavior. There's a process of waking up where you basically quiet your mind to the point where you can start to rise above this stream of consciousness that's always there. It's very, very difficult to stop that stream of consciousness entirely and reach a point of absolute lucidity, but it's possible. And dreams have different levels to them. You can see this with little children who see a scary movie and they're reenacting it. The vast majority of people's dreams, 80%, because I did a big study on this. I should write a book on dreams, are fear and desire, plain and simple. It's the things they haven't done that they want to do, and it's the
Right.
things that they are afraid of. So one of the healthiest things you can do is follow your dreams. Literally, do what you want to do, achieve those goals, and face your fears. If there's something you're afraid of, confront it head on.
That's brilliant.
Um,
Question from Steph here. Question for Preston. While astral traveling, is it possible for another entity to enter your body whilst while you're not there? Many thanks.
no, 100% no. It's your body. You are connected to it by what they call the silver cord. And essentially, you have spirit guides too. No, that can't happen. It is possible to talk to spirits. There's such a thing as channeling, which is very controversial, or possession. And that's not what people think it is. It would be more what I would call oppression or influence. Uh, Nothing can get in your body. Absolutely not. And the dangers of astral projection have been way overblown. I scoured the literature and I could find no evidence whatsoever that there's any danger to this. The only real danger is that it's so fantastic, it will change your life and you'll kind of become obsessed with it uh, and really want to devote a lot of your time to this. But actually, the benefits are unbelievable because you start essentially increase your experience by 1/3 because you're remembering all the 8 hours that you're essentially throwing away or not remembering. And you can prove that there's life after death. So it removes that fear because we are guided by fear here on this planet. The fear of death guides, rules over people's lives. Everything they do is, to protect themselves from dying. And if you know that, death is not the end, it changes your behavior. Not that you become reckless or anything, but you don't live in fear. And you can meet spirit guides. You can go to healing temples and actually heal yourself of physical illness. I have 20 or 30 cases that I've documented where people have healed themselves of serious conditions Minor ones, cuts and bruises, colds and flus, but pneumonia, multiple sclerosis. One guy did. Robert Monroe had a real bad hip problem. A lot of these are connected to past lives. But
Yeah.
eczema or sarcoidosis. Bruce Moen, he was really good at this. He had sarcoidosis, a chronic liver disease, which can be fatal. He was going downhill. He cured himself of it. So you can heal yourself. Visiting deceased loved ones
I'll tell
is
you what,
alone worth it.
Preston, children can see spirit more than anybody.
Yeah, it's funny. And I've always wondered about this because I did a whole bunch of ghost hunting and ghost research and interviewed a lot of people. And over half, it's like 70% of people I interviewed were women and children. Lots of people were young kids when they saw ghosts. Very few older men, for whatever reason. But yeah, there's a connection there, absolutely.
One question from Michael there would say, "Hey, Preston, he's really wise. Pancheto Perez, a student pilot at a Mexican aviation school, experienced an extraordinary incident during a solo training flight
Oh,
in the Cessna."
yeah, I'm not sure if that might, I'm not sure if that's the UFO incident that I'm thinking of, where
Yeah,
3
I think
UFOs came around and guided his plane.
that's right. I remember that now as well.
I'm not sure if that's the one Michael is talking about, but that's what came to my mind. I would have to look that up, but that sounds super interesting because, yeah, I mean, that's the UFO topic, obviously, but I've got a bunch of cases where ETs, UFOs essentially save people from car accidents, drowning, assault, weather
Yeah,
phenomenon,
I've heard of
and
that as well.
healings. I mean, I've got 300 plus, closer to 500 now, cases of healings in association with the UFO encounter. It's one of their main reasons for bringing people on board.
When you talk about that, what do you think the ET agenda is on our planet then?
Yeah, I think we've got a really good handle on it. I think if you study the onboard experiences in particular, but really everything, you can see exactly why they're here. Uh, Clearly, some are here to just study. We see them over our nuclear power stations, our Air Force bases, prisons, anything technological, power plants. They're very much keeping tabs on our technology and studying our planet over mines, coal mines and silver mines and gold mines. So they're basically conducting scientific studies, certainly.
Do you
I
think
think,
they're after some of our minerals we've got in the sea as well?
I don't think so. They have easy access to any planet that, if they need minerals, they can get them. I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't think that that's a big thing by any means. But some are touristy, just coming to take a look. Well, but when someone's taken on board, and it's very apparent what the ET agenda is. Because when people are taken on board, they're almost always physically examined. Why? What's going on here? They're upholding people's genetics, which is being destroyed through pollution and radiation. Our magnetic fields are going down, down, down as time goes on. We're suffering a lot of illnesses like cancer and autoimmune disorders. They're upholding our health.
Yeah.
And this is very apparent. 20, 30, 40% of cases involve healing of some kind. But it goes beyond that. They are guiding people in their personal lives because they will give you very personal information about who you're meeting in your life, who's healthy for you, who's not, what you want to pursue as an education, where you might be living, very personal things. They will also spread knowledge. They're very interested in teaching people about how they fly their own craft, how they power them, using electrogravitics or harnessing the gravitational field lines of our planet, or
Right.
free energy type things, anti-gravity, this sort of thing. They're teaching people all about this in detail, to the point where people are filing patents on these energy-free motors, essentially. But yeah, they'll take you up to the helm, the control room, and show how they fly the craft, which is almost always, is always psychically driven. So there's a very strong psychic component to all of this. They're teaching people about our own abilities of telepathy, precognition, healing, levitation. We can all levitate.
Yeah.
Mediumship, remote viewing, clairvoyance. They really, really are making a strong effort to wake us up to what we can do. They are imparting messages and warnings. This is a big thing. Anyone who's talked to ETs and got a conversation beyond, don't be afraid. You're okay. We're not here to hurt you. No harm will come to you. We'll get this message of warnings about nuclear proliferation, or the use of nuclear material really in any capacity, and how dangerous it is, suicidal. But war and aggression, greed and corruption, pollution, the destruction of the environment, they want people to know that we are related to them. They say over and over again, we are you. You are us. We are the same. We are one.
So do you think we were born ETs then?
I'd say that that's an accurate statement. I don't think we came from this planet. That's what the ET have told. Dolly Saffron talks quite a bit about this, but I've heard this from many, many contactees. No, we did not originate on Earth. The idea of evolution is incorrect. We did not evolve from monkeys. No. There are many, many people who have seen absolute human-looking beings on board craft, which just goes to show that our understanding of human origins is incomplete. Apparently, we used to live on Mars. And yeah, essentially, we all are ET, and have some, ET genetics within us.
Right.
You can look at it that way, and I think it would be 100% accurate.
Michael was just saying that other question. His plane disappeared from radar shortly after takeoff from Mexico City, only to reappear an hour later over Acapulco, a distance of approximately 270 kilometers.
Holy smokes. No, that's a different case from the one I'm thinking of. I'll have to look that up. I don't know that I'm aware of that one.
Yeah, I was thinking same as you.
It's amazing, all the things going on this planet.
And I think it just said here, I think Michael's, this plane could be made that distance in that, or with all the fuel still left in his plane. I've flown this plane, and it's a lawnmower in the sky.
Yeah, my dad was a pilot. He had a little Cessna, and it's paper. It's like made out of shellac, paper with shellac on it. Those tiny little, it practically flies itself, that plane.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
They're
Steph's
amazing.
just saying in chat room, yes, I agree, Preston. I think we were spliced with a human ancestor millions of years ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure I put it quite that way, but you know how we are very careful in who we choose as a mate? And certainly with our animals, we're not necessarily, when some are, doing horrific genetic experiments, but the ETs don't do that. They're just working with the genetics that are there and bringing out the best of them. So I wouldn't say that we were created by ETs by any means, but I think that they've watched over, and you can see this because ET contact is generational, and they follow certain family lines.
That's right.
Now I always ask people, tell me about your genetics. What do you know about your genetics? It's so interesting because contactees will tell me, oh, it's interesting you ask that. because I traced my genetics down to, ancient history, and royal bloodlines turn up quite a bit in among contactee population. Uh, it's really interesting. Contactees are almost always profoundly psychic. They're really smart people. It's not unusual for them to have multiple degrees. They're they are doctors. They are nurses. They are environmentalists. They're inventors. They're artists and musicians. They're teachers and writers. They're
Mm.
people who are working real hard for the betterment of humanity. It's a pattern I noticed about, gosh, 20 years into my research, 30 almost. I'm like, oh my God, why isn't anyone talking about this? ETs are helping those who help others. And it's a absolute fact that that is a pattern, which I
Hey,
think,
Preston, if what's the is there a connection between UFOs and the paranormal then?
yes. And it's kind of a loose connection. I do think we're dealing with extraterrestrials. I'm going to underline that because people are putting forth these various theories. Time travelers from the future. No, I don't see any good evidence for that. So I'm going to discard that as unsupported by the firsthand testimonies. And people say, well, they're interdimensional beings. And I agree with that because you are interdimensional, Bob. You are Michael. I am. We are all interdimensional beings who have a soul, who can travel
Mm.
to the other side, to other dimensions. So I'm not sure that's a useful term. Extraterrestrial is a biological being living on a planet. And I think that's what the evidence is showing us. Jacques Vallée talks about there being a phenomenon, and it's masquerading as ETs. And all these things that we're seeing, ghosts or fairies or Bigfoot or all these things is an intelligence that is manifesting according to our own belief system.
Yeah.
I do not prescribe to that. It's highly speculative. It does not explain a good portion of the evidence, and his reasons for it are not fact-based. So I think I got away from your question there. What was it? Oh gosh.
I've forgotten
Um,
now myself.
but
Oh,
yeah,
what was the connection between
oh
UFOs
yeah,
and the paranormal?
that's right. So what we're seeing here is when someone is taken on board a craft or has face-to-face encounters with ETs, they're communicating telepathically. We consider telepathy paranormal. And but we have these abilities, as I was telling you, and ETs are trying really hard to wake us up to this. So someone will come back from contact and their bioelectric field is absolutely been turned on or it's being used. You are in connection with it.
Yeah.
So it's not at all unusual for people to come back and start having poltergeist phenomena, objects coming off their walls, or start seeing ghosts, or having astral projection, or having healing abilities. One lady I interviewed right after her encounter, she knocked out her computer, she knocked out the copier, she knocked out the fax machine.
Oh God.
Uh, there is a connection, and that is essentially what I think it is. People who have a near-death experience are opened up to all of this and will also start having all kinds of paranormal events. And a good number of them, this is a looser connection, do report having ET experiences as well. I kept running into contactees who've had near-death experiences. And it's not, everyone who has a near-death experience is being contacted with ETs and vice versa.
Yeah.
But there's a weird connection there. So I think that's what's going on. These are not the same things. There's amazing parallels, perhaps, between fairy folk and little people. They're a separate phenomenon. Bigfoot. There are some cases where Bigfoot and UFOs appear congruently. I think Bigfoot's been around forever on this planet. The evidence shows that. And I think they're sentient. And I think some of them are in contact with ETs. So they're essentially contactees just like anyone else would be.
Yeah.
So
There's a
yeah,
question. There's a question from Steph here. Question for Brett. Where do Hobbes fit in the unusual phenomena? What are they? Are they spirit, earth energies, or ET scout ships? Many thanks.
Yes, yes, and yes. I, yeah, I struggled with this because, I had an orb experience that involved missing time, and essentially it was definitely ET. Had hard edges. It was machine-like, sort of. I mean,
Right.
or spirit orbs are more glowy and amorphous. Absolutely, people will see spirits come into the room. Like Dolly talked about this, when she goes astral projecting, people have seen her as a little blue orb. And when you go out of body, sometimes you kind of lose the human form and you become this orb.
Right.
So spirit orbs are absolutely a thing. Absolutely, some of the people will see these little orbs flying around coming out of UFOs. They're probes, essentially. And seeing that is often a precursor to an onboard experience, perhaps. Many, many cases I've had that where people have a little orb flying around their car, and an hour later or that night or immediately perhaps they're pulled on board or have a face-to-face encounter. And as far as earth energy, yeah, earthquake lights, I've seen them myself, can rise up out of the ground when there's earth lights like Brown Mountain or the Marfa lights or the Min Min lights in Australia. They're all over the world. And these, I think, are essentially what we would call earth lights, which are, and some might be nature spirits,
Right.
that sort of thing. Because it's not just us on this planet. It's not just Bigfoot. They're the fairy folk, and I don't really like that term, the little people.
Yeah.
Is a real thing. I interviewed someone who had a modern day encounter, did a little video about it, and I got a flood of reports from I'm so glad you talked about this. My mom saw a little person, or I saw one, and one came into my room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is still going on. People are seeing little people all over the world in all cultures. It's amazing.
Yeah. Melvin's in. Ask a question. Hi, Preston. Does animals have souls just like us?
Just like us, 100%. You will see all your pets who have passed on when you cross over, or you can do it now. Do astral projection. It's funny because our dogs, my parents put them to sleep. I was so mad. They did not tell me. And finally started having astral projection experiences. And there was our dog, Maxine. And she was young and chipper. And one day she comes bounding up. I'm out of body. I'm on the other side. She comes bounding up to me. And she said, "Hi, Preston." I'm like you could have knocked me over. She talked. I did more research and I found other cases of this. But yeah, they start to really learn, and all animals pretty much. Maybe not insects. I don't know. I haven't seen insects on the other side. So I couldn't tell you that. But yes, animals have souls 100% and are far more intelligent than are given credit for. Essentially, all animals are sentient, intelligent beings.
Right.
They really are. They're not at all dumb. like, oh, we think of ourselves as the top of the food chain. That's not, it's all integrated. Every single entity is integral and equal.
Right. Michael's on about this thing that's coming through, this interstellar object. Could you comment on the Atlas, the insights of this mothership coming in?
Yes, and thank you for the laughing emoji, Michael, because that's how I feel about it. Avi Loeb, shame on you to say that it's a 40% chance this is an ET craft. It shows none, zero of the things we look for to identify a genuine extraterrestrial craft. They can come here from interstellar distances in minutes. The idea that one is meandering its way here and is an extraterrestrial gigantic craft coming to, and he said it could be hostile. Really? Where'd you get that? That's not scientific knowledge. That is fear mongering.
Mm.
That's pure speculation. And I think it's shameful. I don't, it's a comet. I think it's a comet. Uh, and people may say, oh, well, its trajectory, it's changing speeds. Comets change speeds. They have gases coming out.
Yeah.
They can turn. There's influences going on. They hit stuff. Space is not empty as people think it is. Uh, Look up the Oort cloud that's surrounding our solar system. It, Space is not empty.
Yeah,
I find,
it is scaremongering.
yeah, and it's ludicrous. And shame on you. The fear narrative that's being put forth on this subject is very frustrating. It's not true. ETs have been around since recorded history and quite obviously before that.
Oh,
Are they really coming to our polluted planet to take over? No. And contactees have actually asked them that because this is the narrative that's being put forth. I talked to a lady who had contacted, she asked the Gray, she had a big long contact with the Gray, are you coming to take over our planet? And it practically laughed at her. It was amused and said, no, no, you humans are very hard to be around. You're very violent. Your planet is terribly polluted. It's incredibly overcrowded. We have access to any planet in the solar system. There are, or not the galaxy, in the universe, frankly, and there are plenty of planets to go around. So no, they're not here to take over. This whole fear mongering is not okay.
another question from Michael. I'm in desperate need of ET healing outside of my continued efforts to out of body experience and ET contact. What can I do to bring about some help from our interdimensional friends?
Yeah, life on Earth is ridiculously difficult. We come down here and we all pass on, and it's a difficult process because a good majority of us, as we age, suffer health issues. I have them. I don't know anyone who hasn't had some health issue in their life. And to some extent, and I'm not going to make this a hard and fast rule, but we choose some of the challenges that we're facing to grow from them.
Mm.
So, because I say this because people have been taken on board and healed, and the ETs don't heal them of their chronic disease. They'll heal them of some injuries. And people have asked, well, why, why don't you heal me of this? You chose that as a learning experience. Don't think that's a hard and fast rule because life on Earth does have accidents and we're bombarded and attacked. Healing can come from many different avenues. I've found 50, now I'm not recommending this, 50 cases of people who were struck by lightning, 50 cases of people struck by lightning, healed of paralysis, cancer, multiple sclerosis. I mean, you name it. That's this weird electricity thing that we don't fully understand. Don't go running out in a lightning storm. You're much more likely to die. But people are healed by angelic beings, by spirit guides. People have been healed through past life therapy. A good number of our illnesses are trauma we've carried from past lives. People who were perhaps gassed in the Auschwitz gas chambers have asthma, or someone was stuck, by a bullet in the heart and they have heart issues, or back issues. Some of these, there's case after case after case. If you read the literature on past lives and past life regression therapy,
Yeah.
a bunch of people have alleviated serious illnesses by doing past life regression. Something to consider. OBEs, I mentioned I've got 20 or 30 cases of that. Very effective. There's a bunch of cases of people who've had near-death experiences. I have a family friend, terminal cancer, not expected to live, did not live. She died, came back, and her cancer was gone. The doctors couldn't believe it. They called her a miracle. She was not expected to survive, and they couldn't find her cancer. How does this happen? So the human body is not exactly what people think it is. We have healing abilities. The best thing anyone can do if you're suffering from illness is first meditate, learn how to relax, commune with nature as much as possible, good diet, good exercise routine, laughter, surround yourself by people who are healthy and happy, pursue knowledge, know yourself as best as you can. And you can absolutely appeal to, ETs. That's going to be a difficult thing right now because from what I understand, they're not here right now. And so I'm not sure I would recommend that as much because it's really more on their terms. But astral projection, if you can learn how to do that, really buckle down, an hour a day of meditating, you can get this done. And once you pop out of body, say, I go now to the healing temple, or take me to the healing place, or I demand healing, or appeal to, angels and spirit guides.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's you. You are responsible for your own healing. Even ETs aren't like magically healing people. They're accelerating our own healing process. So they shine a light on something, and what it does is it sort of accelerates the healing process. So don't despair if you're going through illness, because there's always hope. Even at the lowest edge of health problems, it can be a complete reversal. And ultimately, death is an incredibly healing event. And you have a whole new body. You can have another body immediately if you'd like to incarnate again.
Yeah, that's true.
So my heart goes out to people. I could have used a few ET. I could still use some ET healings, honestly. So it's difficult, and I have such great empathy for people.
No, same here as well.
Huge kudos to every single one of us who has chosen to incarnate on Earth. Because if you read Robert Monroe's books, he asked about that, and he was told, anyone who incarnates on Earth, wow, really, you're so brave. Because if you can graduate from the Earth School, you're highly respected throughout the universe in the higher dimensions, is what he said, which made me laugh because I'm like, yeah, Earth is a tough school.
Definitely is. We're
And
about,
also, one more thing, there
yeah,
are
go on.
healers out there, healers who are quite effective,
Oh, yes, there is, definitely.
who have healing abilities. So that's worth checking out as well.
Psychic surgeons and people like that. I know a psychic surgeon is, and he is good.
Yeah,
Well,
difficult to find it because there are shysters out there too. So be
yes,
careful.
yes. Where can people get your books, and where can they get in touch with you if they need to tell you something?
Yeah, well, you can email me and I'll send you my OBE guide. It's prestonufo@gmail.com. Easy to remember. My first name and the word UFO. I have a website, which is also my name, prestondennett.weebly.com. I have a YouTube channel. Again, if you just go onto the video section or YouTube section, type my name, it should take you there. It's UFOs and the Paranormal.
Yeah.
My books are on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I do a weekly podcast each Monday evening with Dolly Safran called The Light Date. We're doing a Q&A this upcoming Monday, so that's always fun. That's 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm easy to find on social media, Facebook, the other ones. They always change their names. X, Instagram, Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
Not on TikTok yet, but probably I should because lots of young people like that one. But
Oh, they
I
do.
can't keep up. I just can't keep up.
Just a quick question from Michael again. We'll do this one. Can you relay what information you have on those Zoe Slide and their sex in the afterlife? Have any insights on ET comments on this subject?
I don't know what "sowie slide" means. It sounds like suicide, so maybe
Yeah,
that's what he's asking. Yeah, s people who take their own lives are not going to hell or anything like that.
no,
No. I wouldn't recommend it. If someone's has a chronic illness and they're in the end stages and that's fine. But if you're taking your life at a young age through depression, you'll probably end up just having to relearn the lessons, but you're not going to hell or anything. I've been to the lower realms and it's very difficult down there and people are having a hard time, but you're not confined there by any means. It's up to you to just stop judging yourself. You're your own worst judge. So don't worry about that. People who are having mental issues or anything like that, depressed, are surrounded by spirit guides and they do work real hard. Social work is a huge thing on the other side.
yeah,
And I've crossed many people over because, yeah, it can be difficult for some people. As far as sex in the afterlife, yes, 100%. It's better than here. We think of sex as being something purely physical, and the way we do it here, yeah, it is. It's different, but two entities can come together and share energies, and it's tremendous. That's that same energy we feel during. I'll just say it, an orgasm is intensified. So, without getting too graphic, yeah, absolutely, yes. We have a tendency to think that, oh, it's best here. No, it's better on the other side in almost all ways. There are lessons that we come down here to learn, which you can't really experience on the other side, like isolation and a sense of individuality. We are individuals, but it's not like people think it is. But loss, pain, there's a bunch of things that we can learn here through in the third dimension that we can't learn effectively or as quickly in the higher realms, which is very much love and light and puppies and rainbows and flowers. And it's unbelievably nice. Once, at the what I would call the heavenly realms, there are lower realms where it's people have a rougher time with it. But even there, you're fine.
well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody's enjoyed it in the chat room as usual. They always say, thank you, Preston and Bob. A great show as always.
Yeah.
Steph just said, love hearing Preston's experience and knowledge. Thank you for your time, Preston. Another brilliant show, Bob. So it's always nice when people in the chat room love hearing about whoever's on my show, the guests. They always admire the guests on the show. It's fantastic. But thank you again, Preston. It's been absolutely lovely. Next time we'll have to have Dolly on as well.
Well, I'm sure she'd be delighted.
I'm sure she will. I would say good night, everybody from the UK. Good afternoon in America. Hope you have a nice day, and I'll catch up with you very soon.